Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. And we're going to do that by jumping straight into a fiery ancient conflict. That, honestly, completely redefines human worth. We're looking at a fascinating piece of source material called the Vasala Sutta. It's also known as the Discourse on Outcasts. And it asks a question that is, just as relevant to us today as it was back then. What actually makes someone a bad person? Is it where you come from, or is it what you do? Well, let's find out.
Stay there, you shaveling. Stay there, you wretched monk. Stay there, you outcast. I mean, wow. Just imagine hearing those words screamed at you first thing in the morning. That is the intense, absolutely furious greeting the Buddha received from an elite Brahmin named Agyaka Bharadvaja. The Buddha was literally just walking through the city of Savatthi on his morning alms round, totally minding his own business, and boom, he gets hit with this sudden, aggressive verbal assault. Section 1. An unexpected insult.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the intense psychological contrast between these two figures. To understand the eruption, you've got to know the Brahmin was in the middle of his home, preparing a sacred ritual fire. In his super strict worldview, just seeing a shaven-headed monk was considered this highly unlucky omen, like a total curse that could completely ruin his rituals. So he's deeply superstitious and just completely losing his temper. But the Buddha? He's entirely unruffled. He doesn't shout back, doesn't get defensive. Instead, he just responds quietly with a really soft cadence. It's this massive clash between rigid ritual and ultimate calm.
And he disarms his attacker not with some defensive shield, but with a profound, piercing question that literally stops the furious Brahmin right in his tracks. He asks him, "Do you know, Brahmin, who an outcast is and what the conditions are that make an outcast?" It is such a brilliant conversational maneuver. He takes the exact insult thrown at him, that word outcast, and flips it into a philosophical inquiry.
Which perfectly brings us to Section 2, defining an outcast.
So suddenly the angry Brahmin is curious. His anger kind of just deflates, and he's totally willing to listen. The Buddha then breaks down a systematic list of what truly degrades a human being. He lists 20 specific conditions, but it really boils down to this perfectly synthesized progression. It starts with obvious, brutal physical actions, right, violence, killing beings, even down to birds, or destroying entire villages for loot. Then it moves into theft and deceit, stealing, actively dodging your debts, lying as a witness. But then it gets deeply personal with social neglect. If you're wealthy but you ignore your aging parents, or if you strike your family members, you're an outcast. Finally, it targets arrogance, belittling others, or reviling the awakened. It covers the whole shebang, from violent crimes straight down to everyday household hypocrisy.
And I have to point out this highly specific detail from the text because it's absolutely crucial. Of all the terrible deeds listed, faking enlightenment, pretending to be an arahant, or a consummate one when you aren't, makes you the absolute lowest of outcasts. The Buddha describes this as being a thief in the whole universe. Just think about that framing for a second. It is the ultimate spiritual fraud. You aren't just stealing someone's money, you are stealing truth itself.
Moving into Section 3, the core thesis. And get ready, because this is where the paradigm really shifts.
So the crucial point is this revolutionary idea right here. The Buddha says, not by birth is one an outcast, not by birth is one a Brahmin. By deed one becomes an outcast, by deed one becomes a Brahmin. This is a complete game changer. He's entirely stripping away the rigid caste system that this elite Brahmin built his entire identity around. He's placing human value entirely, 100%, on personal actions. Your genetics, your family name, high birth, they mean absolutely nothing if your behavior is rotten.
Let's explore how he proves this in Section 4, the tale of Matanda.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Because the Buddha knows this is a massive philosophical pill to swallow. So he gives a supporting parable. He tells the story of a man born as Sopaka. He was a lowly outcast's son, literally the very bottom of the social ladder. But through his incredible character and righteous deeds, he became known as Matanga, attaining this incredibly high fame. It got to the point where he was literally being attended to by elite warriors and Brahmins. He then mounted the celestial chariot, which is just a really poetic way of saying he practiced the Noble Eightfold Path. And ultimately, he reached the highest spiritual plane, the Brahma realm, completely free of sense desires. His lowly birth didn't hold him back for a single second from achieving the absolute peak of spiritual supremacy.
And you really see the stark contrast here. High birth Brahmins? The text notes they're actually often seen committing evil deeds, and because of that, they're despised in this life and born into a woeful state in the next.
Having a high birth offers zero protection from the consequences of bad behavior. On the flip side, we have the low birth Matanga. He completely overcame his social standing through pure deeds alone, gained profound respect, and achieved ultimate spiritual success. It cements the fact that deeds trump birth, every single time.
Now for Section 5, an illuminating shift. And this brilliantly illustrates the profound impact this whole argument had. We return from the story back to that dusty street in Savatthi, right where the Buddha and the furious Brahmin are standing face to face. And the Brahmin, he doesn't argue. He is completely awestruck. He says the Buddhist explanation is excellent, using these beautiful, almost poetic metaphors. He praises the Buddha's clarifying wisdom, saying it's like setting upright what had been overturned, revealing what had been hidden, pointing the way to one who had gone astray, or holding an oil lamp in the dark so those with eyes may see. It's just a gorgeous acknowledgement of the truth.
Which brings our historical narrative to a really satisfying resolution. The Brahmin declares, "I take refuge in the Venerable Gautama, the Dhamma, and the Sangha." He actually asks the Buddha to accept him as a lay follower from that very day forward. In just a matter of minutes, through the power of a perfectly calm demeanor and a rock-solid logical argument, a deeply hostile attacker completely transforms into a devoted student.
So, what does this all mean for us? The Vasala Sutta isn't just some dusty old story about a monk and a Brahmin. It's a mirror. If deeds, not birth, define our worth, what do your deeds say about you? Are we relying on our background, our wealth, maybe our job title to define our value? Or are our daily actions actually reflecting the best version of ourselves? Take a moment to really let that sink in. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.